Hi, and welcome back to part 5 of our series on emotionally intelligent leadership, and thank you for sticking with it so far. If you've watched the other 4, we've gone through what leadership is about, we've talked about what emotional intelligence is, we've tried to bring that to life, and then we've started to think about how all this emotional stuff affects our thinking and how it's impossible to distance our thinking from our emotions, and if we're emotionally intelligent, how we can actually use our emotions to improve our thinking, and we can use our thinking to manage our emotional life so that they work more in harmony. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Particularly we'll dig into empathy, which is hugely important, and we'll start talking about what else I can do to leverage my emotional intelligence, and if I'm leading a team, what can I do for my team to help them, and we'll give you some simple tools that will help manage mood. So the first thing we're going to talk about is empathy. Hugely important, particularly emotional empathy, hugely important to connecting with individuals, how to make a human connection with people. When you think back to the very start, when we said, think of a good leader, think of a bad leader, and I said, try to think about not just what they did, but how did they make you feel? How do good leaders make you feel? And how do people who are in a position of authority, you wouldn't call them a leader, they just happen to be a boss or a position of authority, not a leader, well, that tends to be how they make you feel. They also tend to have some pretty bad strategies and ill prepared or undereducated for their role. But they also make people feel certain things that good leaders don't make people feel. So how you make people feel, how you connect with people at a human level, hugely important to your ability to connect, your ability to get them to want to exercise the free choice to follow you. Remember, that was our definition of leadership. Can you get people to exercise the free choice to follow you? Well, if you can't empathize, connect with them empathically, very, very unlikely that they're exercising the free choice to follow you. So there are 2 types of empathy. There are very different types of empathy. The first is cognitive empathy, which is in your head. I see this person, I recognize that they're annoyed, I know that they're annoyed, I can diagnose annoyance or irritation or anger. I can perceive this thing well, I can describe it, I can understand why. But it's all in my head. That's cognitive empathy. The example we're using is the psychopath. So psychopaths are very high in cognitive empathy. They know exactly what they're causing you to feel. They just don't care. So they lack emotional empathy. So are you the person who just understands it understands emotion kind of as a clinical exercise? But it doesn't affect your heart. There's no feeling, there's no gut involved. On the other side, you've got emotional empathy, and that's the ability to really feel what somebody else is feeling, to engage with your heart in the emotion that somebody's feeling. So that person is sad. What's it like to feel sad? What's it like to be inside that sadness bubble? What does the world look like from inside a sadness bubble? Like, have you ever been sad? Have you ever allowed yourself to feel sad? And back to the use emotion. Well, if the answer is no, I don't allow myself to feel sad, very difficult to know what's inside that person's emotional bubble. They're angry, or they're jealous, or they're enraged, or they're curious. What's it like to be curious? What's it like to have that childlike wonder and fascination with the world and surprise and interest? Well, if you're kind of jaded and cynical about the world, it's very hard to understand what's going on inside that emotional bubble. So emotional empathy is the ability not just to recognize the emotion that somebody's feeling, but to recreate that emotion in yourself, to have where does it appear in your body? Where does anger happen for you in your body? What happens? There's a tension in your shoulders, like surprise. What does surprise feel like in your body? Can you recreate it? Is it sticky? Is it blue? Is it smelly? What is it? What are the visceral sensations that accompany that emotion? And if you can't answer those questions, it's probably because you're struggling to recreate that emotion. What smell comes up for you? What feeling comes up for you? What color comes up for you when this emotion gets described? So that's about recreating the emotion in your body so you get back inside. Now, the recreation, the sensation doesn't have to be the same for you as anybody else. We're not asking you to feel a pain in your shoulder because this person's feeling a pain in their shoulder. Pain in your shoulder might be your anger response. What we're trying to do is to get your anger response going so that you understand what their anger response feels like, what it's doing to their thinking, what it's doing to their perspective. That's the example that's used in the clinical research is autism, people who are high in emotional empathy, who can connect with everybody's, but they can't make sense of that. So high emotional empathy, low cognitive empathy means you're connecting with everybody's emotions. You just can't figure out why or what what that's doing to you. And we'll make the point again and again and again, it's very, very hard to emotionally empathize with an emotion you don't feel. So the more you allow yourself to feel, the more comfortable you are with feeling your own emotions, the more of that range that you can live with, the more likely you are to empathize appropriately and deeply to make the person feel empathized with. Whatever advice, whatever strategies you come up with are likely to be better. Remember, it's not about wallowing. This person is angry, just get angry as well. That's just wallowing in the emotion. The person will feel heard for a moment or two, slightly less lonely for a while, but you're not going to come up with anything that helps them because you're also in the angry state. So it's about creating the anger state, which is to engage with the emotion, so that you can figure out, okay, so what happens to this person, what's going on for a person in an angry state, and then having the emotional intelligence to disengage from that emotion, okay? I've used that emotion to create that kind of thinking. The thinking stays, you still have those ideas, but you put the emotion away, so, well, I don't need the anger state now. I'm now going to interact with this person who's angry on the basis of the kinds of ideas, the kinds of strategies that I was able to come up with when I got myself into that kind of mood state for a couple of minutes just to see what happened, just to see what their perspective was like. So it's about using the emotion to facilitate cognition, then disengaging from that emotion, and then having a strategy that you can deploy based on all of that information without necessarily having to wallow in the emotion with the person. So what I'm going to ask you to do for a second is just to watch a bit of video. It's only a couple of minutes. It's actually a girl who's asked to sing the national anthem. She steps up to sing the national anthem. She forgets the words. What happens? So you see her reaction, you'll see the crowd reaction, and then you'll see one of the coaches who comes over and helps her out. I want you just to think about, well, who's displaying empathy and what does empathy look like? What's it really all about? So watch this clip for a couple of seconds, and then we'll have a chat about it after.
And now to honor America and salute the men and women serving our country with our national anthem, please welcome, as voted by you, the fans, our winner of the Toyota Get the Feeling of a Star promotion, Natalie Gilbert.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the stars like stars? Stars like last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, and the singing air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Beautiful clip. Somebody always has a tear in their eye when we show this when we show this to big rooms. There's always somebody with a tear in their eye after this clip. It's a gorgeous clip. What's really empathic is you notice that obviously the girl is just so keyed up. She's so excited. She's so anxious. She's so energized. She's a little bit embarrassed because she's obviously got the hair done and bought the new dress. And, you know, I bet you when she was practicing in her bedroom, she was killing it. She was fabulous. Gets in front of the crowd and her mind just goes completely blank. And then the crowd begin to get on her back a bit and she gets really embarrassed. You can see in her that she's not feeling angry at the crowd for jeering at her. She's not feeling interested. She's not feeling sad. She's feeling embarrassed. So you can see that shame, embarrassment. See how her body just kind of folds in itself. That's a shame response. You just, oh my God, this is so horrible. I want just to all go away and just disappear into the floorboards. Two parts of the empathic response. I think when the coach comes across to her, the fact that he stands beside her, holds her shoulder, sings to her and allows her to sing, that's him using his command presence in an empathic way. I'm not going to take the mic and go, look at me singing for this poor little girl. He lets her sing, never touches the mic, and just tells her the words. I'm standing beside you. I have your back. I'm helping you here. You got this. You can still do this. And sings the next word, Even when she keeps forgetting. He gives her a couple of words. She starts going. She forgets again. He's still calm energy, empathizing with her. What does somebody need who is in a shamed, embarrassed state? What do they need? They need support. They need to be made to feel a bit more confident. They need somebody to believe in them. That's what he's doing in the moment. The piece that I find most empathic, and the thing that underlines this, and the reason why I love this piece of video, is what happens when she finishes. As soon as she finishes, he goes. He's out of there like a whatever. He's not standing around going, look at the size of my huge heart. Look at how empathic I am. Look at this wonderful thing I did for this poor little child. It's not his moment. He's not there to feel good about himself. He's there to support her. And he leaves and goes back 50 meters to the end of the basketball court to go back to his team. So what's truly empathic, what truly epitomizes emotionally intelligent leadership in this clip is both the fact that he knew exactly what to do and did it well, and then that he didn't make it about himself at the end. So a beautiful piece of not just having the cognitive empathy to know what's going on, but the emotional empathy to be able to manifest the right kind of behaviors and the right kind of energy. So I think that's a wonderful clip, and I'll just watch it again and again and again. So scientifically or academically, what was going on? It's about having a level of connection, emotional arousal, get the emotions going in yourself, enough. The effective range, again, is a kind of a parabola. There's no emotion flowing in me. This person is embarrassed, so what? Or I'm laughing at her, or, because I'm just not connecting with her embarrassment, not connecting with her in any way. So there's that just not connecting part. There's not enough emotion flowing around inside you. There's then the sufficient emotion to generate action that will cause you to behave empathically. But if you allow that to continue, and you just get sadder and sadder, or angrier and angrier, or whatever it is, just say the person's angry, you just get angry with them. Or the person is sad, you get sad with them. You can imagine in all of that room full of people, stadium full of people, there were loads of people sitting in their seats going, oh my God, I am mortified for her. Oh my God, I'm so sad for her. Oh my God, that's awful. Oh my God, my heart bleeds for her. What characterizes a lot of those statements is the I statement. I'm sad for her. I'm mortified for her. My heart bleeds for her. That's the self-focus. When you allow the emotion to continue, and it actually becomes about how you're reacting to the emotion that she's feeling, and it's all about your reaction to her problem, and then your body will default to a self-focus, particularly under stress and in times of extreme emotion. The default mechanisms in your brain default to an internal perspective rather than an outside perspective, so you will naturally think about yourself whenever things, conditions of high stress or high cognitive load, high information load, your brain just switches off and goes inside. And that going inside is focusing on your own reaction to the emotion, not how you should be acting with this person, how you lead in that moment. The internal focus rather than leadership focus. So it's all about maintaining the right level, maintaining the right level of engagement, the right level of activation, the right level of emotion. Not too little, so you don't care, but not too much, so the caring switches to an internal rather than external focus. So what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? We've kind of 5 sessions now. As a person, how do I put all of this together and figure out, well, what are some strategies I can do now to start improving my emotional intelligence, improving my ability to lead in an emotionally intelligent way? Well, start becoming more aware of your own emotions. How are you feeling? What is going on for you? What is coming up for you? And notice that. Start to talk about it. Start to use different words. When people are talking about their own emotions, notice the words that they use. If you have people who are quite sophisticated, talk to them more. Tell them what you think is going on. Tell them what you think is feeling. Come out of the meeting and say, "Oh wow, I thought Larry was pretty excited in there." And then if they didn't notice that, well, why didn't you notice that? What was going on with you? Well, I thought he was excited because of this, or maybe it was that. So start to engage with the material. Start to engage with conversations with other people around the emotional substrate that's happening inside organizations. Recognize that the kind of decisions that you make based on your emotion. So if you keep an emotion diary, how was I feeling through the week, and you also keep a decision diary, what kind of decisions I'm making, you will find a shockingly high correlation between certain types of emotion and certain types of decisions. Those decisions that you thought were entirely based on evidence, you'll notice that there's a whole lot of emotion in them. There's some great research about the decisions that judges make just before lunch and just after lunch. These are people deciding, judges are deciding people's fate. You think it was completely kind of amoral, no particular emotion one way or the other, no favoritism, it's all just based on the law. But you're much more likely to be convicted just before lunch because the judge is hungry than after lunch when he's happy and fed. And there's quite a decent body of research evidence that links the kind of decisions that people make before and after lunch based on being hungry or being contented and well fed. Shockingly high correlation. If you can match the work you're doing to your mood, all the better. So I know that I have a particularly difficult meeting on a Thursday morning, but I need to be in a very positive frame of mind for the meeting that I do on Thursday afternoon. I'm going to have to do something about my mood at Thursday lunchtime. I know that the morning meeting is always tough and always brings me down a bit, and I'm always a little bit irritated because it's a challenging thing. So I know that's the mood I'm going to be in. I also know I can't bring that mood into my 2:00 meeting on a Thursday. So what's my lunchtime strategy? Usually you work through, you have a sandwich at your desk. If that's your Thursday, then you have to go for a walk on a Thursday. Or if you have a really fancy coffee shop and you're a kind of a coffee head, well, go and get your fancy coffee on a Thursday. Go out and go to the coffee shop, walk down from your office, walk down around the corner, sit in the coffee shop for 10 minutes and have a fancy cup of coffee, and then come back to the office. So that by the time you get to your 2:00 meeting on Thursday, when you need to be energized and positive and up for it, that you've managed your mood. So how are you going to be feeling at certain times of the week? What kind of work? Can you move the work around to suit how you're naturally going to be feeling? Can you move your mood around to suit the work you have to do? So just try to match as far as you can. We don't all have that opportunity, but as far as you can. Managing your mood, and hopefully over the 5 sessions, this idea of being in control of your emotions, of leveraging your emotions, of understanding your emotions, is hopefully I've made the point that it's fundamental to your leadership ability. It's not a nice to have or a discretionary thing. It's fundamental to being able to lead effectively, to being able to lead in an emotionally intelligent way. So actively manage it. It's a job. It's a task. And if you're one of those tasky kind of people, make this a task. Make a challenge out of it. If you have to have a spreadsheet for this, have a spreadsheet for it. But however you do this, make managing your mood a task, a challenge, an activity that you schedule into your regularly occurring day. Things like your exercise. Are you getting enough exercise? Exercise is not just about your physical health, it's about your mental health, it's about your ability to operate at a high level. What about sleep? What about me time? Going to a spa, go to the cinema, whatever it is that's me time for you. Sit and read a book, go and buy the paper on a Sunday morning and sit out by the beach and read the paper for an hour where nobody can get near you. Just whatever you do, that's an investment in yourself. Or, play the drums or play the guitar or whatever you do that's just your time. Make sure you're investing in that because it's an investment in your capability. It's a bit like an athlete taking his or her rest. Athletes don't train all the time. They rest, they sleep, they recover. So when is your recovery time? Because if you try to operate at high level all the time, when you won't, it just gradually decreases. And the danger is that you won't notice because it's so slight. You won't notice that actually your effectiveness, your efficiency is dropping. A bit like slicing Parmesan. It's coming off in tiny, tiny slices the whole time because you're never putting anything back. So you have to invest in putting capability back. That's about exercise. That's about me time. That's about sleep. That's about nutrition. That's about avoiding things like stimulants, like caffeine, like alcohol, all that kind of stuff. If you have mood vampires in your life, if you have people who just suck the energy out of you, and you're not that kind of person, you're not super comfortable around that kind of energy, begin to inure yourself and develop your immunity to that kind of energy by small bits of exposure, a little bit more. but limit your exposure to mood vampires. There are people out there who are not good at managing their emotions, who will puke this stuff up all over you, who will expect you to manage their emotions for them. You can't do it for everybody. So there are times when actually the advice is you need to distance yourself from those kinds of people, because they're just going to bring you down and you don't have the skills yet to be able to turn them around. If you can separate the person from the idea, particularly people who irritate you, who annoy you, or even who just engage you in stuff you don't engage with, they could be exciting you about projects. This person who always comes in with a new idea, the new plan, the new thing, and you get swept up in it, and then 2 weeks later you realise, so I'm the only one doing any work on this. I mean, that person came in, kind of landed me with this idea. I got super excited, and now here I am at 10 o'clock at night finishing this report, and like, where is she or he? Why do they keep doing this to me? Why do I allow myself to get swept up? So if it's a thing that you get swept up, or you get annoyed, or you get angry, separate the person from the idea so that you can be challenging with the idea. Is this a good idea? Is it not a good idea? Am I going to do this thing? Am I not going to do this thing? But it's not a personal attack on the person. You can still nurture, honor, engage, reward, connect with the person as a human being, while being very, very hard on the idea, if you can separate those two things. And then, in terms of managing mood, there are lots of things that are actually much simpler than they seem. Because we can overthink. Remember I said, don't get into your head, get into your body about this stuff. So don't overthink it. There are some simple things that really, really work very effectively. Music is a great one. Smell is another one. The kind of smells that remind you of childhood, the kind of smells that remind you of, simpler, whatever it is, holidays, whatever. Smell can really get you change your mood, but so can music. So I want you to listen to this piece of music. Just close your eyes for a sec. Listen to this piece of music and just focus on what kind of thoughts are coming up. What impressions, what mood, what feelings, what thoughts, what lands on you as you listen to this music, just for a couple of seconds. So the kinds of things, that depends. If you were a big AC/DC head back in the day, you may well be thinking about your first girlfriend or your first boyfriend, and you may have very pleasant and positive thoughts may have come up for you. But for a lot of people, it's afflictive, it's anger, it's discordant, it's annoying, it's irritating, it went on a bit too long, I got impatient. So just negative afflictive emotions come up for that kind of music. So we'll repeat the experiment. We're going to listen to another piece of music, and again, just be in your body and reflect on what's coming up for you as you listen to this piece of music. So again, very, very different feel, mood, atmosphere. People feel calm, feel serene, people feel at peace, feel a bit reflective. That bottom right-hand corner, low energy, positive kind of. If you're a very high energy person, you may well have been irritated, frustrated, annoyed, because that music was too slow. So the energy signature for that music may not have been to your taste, and it just may have irritated you a bit. So what's important is that you notice what comes up for you at one piece of music, what comes up for you for the other piece of music. And also that you notice how much different your feelings, emotions, thinking are based on just a couple of minutes of two different types of music, and how powerful music can be to change your mood. Now, at this point, executives often say, well, that's all very well, sending people out on the football field and rah, 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 and, go get them kind of stuff. But we're doing cognitively loaded stuff here. We're dealing with challenging problems. We need people to use their minds, to use their brain, use their intellect. So that's the kind of stuff that's all very well for training, or I could see how I do that in the gym, but I just can't see me doing that in work. The two pieces of music actually come from this guy, Nigel Short, who was a chess grandmaster, so anybody who's into their chess will recognize this guy. And these are two pieces of music that he uses to get ready to play chess. So depending on the kind of chess game he thinks he's going to have, he either has to be contemplative and slowing all down and reflective, because that's the right frame of mood to be in the right frame of mind to have that chess match, or else it's going to be, playing Kasparov or something, it's going to be combative and high energy. And he needs to be in a high energy state, because that's the kind of game he's going to play. And he needs to get himself into the right frame of mood to get in the right frame of mind to play that kind of a chess game. So here's an example of probably the most cognitively loaded activity you could think of, playing chess. And somebody who's really, really, really good at it uses music as a way to get into the right frame of mood, to get into the right frame of thinking, to play different kinds of chess games. So music is hugely effective, and a lot of us could use music a lot more. And what's the soundtrack to your day? What's the soundtrack to your life? How do you use music to get you into the right frame of mood, to get into the right frame of mind? As leaders, as well as focusing on what we can do to manage our own emotions, we also have to think about, well, what about other people? I've got all these other people who are looking to me for leadership. How do I help them? Have we any tips to help us manage other people's emotions and help them to work through the emotional issues that they're dealing with? Well, the first one is understand the emotional impact, particularly in difficult and stressful times. Understand the emotional impact that people are going through, and this thing called emotional labor. How emotionally difficult is it? And be conscious of and aware of the ask of people, the ask of your teams, and be sensitive to that. At least it's on your radar. There may be very little you can do about it, but at least have it on your radar that you're asking people to go through either challenging times, or frustrating times, or exciting times, or surprising times. What is it that they're going through? Where are they at? Where are they at in that 2x2 matrix? And where would you like them to be? And how can you help move their emotions? So the first part in everything is just be more aware, be more conscious of the emotional labor that's inherent in the work you're asking people to do. Where you can create a positive environment. Now we know there's use for negative, there's use for afflictive emotions, but generally in organizations, positive emotion probably more useful for getting our work done, for getting on with people. So how are you creating a supportive environment? How are you creating a positive environment? What are you doing to reward positive behaviors? When we talk about rewarding the how, just the what, are we rewarding people who create the right kind of culture, the right kind of environment, the right kind of feeling? For those people who are achieving results but not in the right way, what are we doing about that? Is that okay with you? Is it okay for people to achieve results but to be causing afflictive emotions in others, to be causing distress in others? What are you going to do about that? It's particularly when you have, and it's the apocryphal tale, the top performing salesperson who causes mayhem everywhere around him. What are you going to do about that when you know that this person is delivering the numbers, but you know that they're causing all kinds of conflict around them that isn't adaptive for the team? How do you handle that? What are you going to do about that? So that's the challenge for you as a leader, is to what extent do you passively endorse, just let that stuff slide, or to what extent do you take it on? One of the things that I learned kind of early in my career, I wasn't very good at picking this stuff up. So I understood it at an intellectual level, and I had good strategies to manage it, but I would miss the signals a lot. My perceived emotion score wasn't very good. Obviously, I've done a lot of work on it since, so you can work on this stuff. I'm much better now. But back in the day when I was learning to be a leader in my first few roles, I did often miss, and I was often the person coming out, the clueless person coming out of the meeting being told, "Oh, did you not notice that?" And going, "What? What are you doing? I don't know." "Oh, yeah. Did you not notice the bit where Larry was angry?" "What do you mean?" "Well, the bit where he slammed the table." "Oh, okay, yeah." Or the bit where he started crying. "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." So, I would be doing a lot of the, "Oh, yeah, that made sense" afterwards. Just kind of looking up to the sky going, "Oh, I remember that now." So if you're that person, you may not just pick this stuff up yet, but it's important that somebody in your circle is picking this up and telling you. So partner with what I call an emotional barometer. Is there somebody in the team who's just good at this, who just seems to be connected to all of this stuff? And oftentimes you'll notice, if you have lots and lots of teams with different people in them, you may notice the high performers have somebody in common. Now this person, and this was the case in one of my previous roles, this person was not a particularly high performer herself. She wasn't particularly technical skilled, but if you put her into a team, the team performance seemed to magically improve. And we looked at of the 10 or 12 teams in the place, there were 3 or 4 that were doing really well, and 2 or 3 of them had her in them. So there was something magic that she brought to it. And what she was, and I describe her later on in my research as the emotional barometer, she was very good at picking up and reflecting back and managing the mood of groups that she was in. She created a very positive atmosphere, and she would notice if somebody was sad, if somebody was down, if somebody was angry, if somebody was upset. She would pick up on it so fast. And what she was really good at was telling me. So she would come to me at the coffee break at 10 o'clock and go, have you noticed that these 2 people aren't talking? Have you noticed that this person made a point, was cut down, and she hasn't spoken since? And she was always spot on. She was always dead right. I didn't need to be told what to do about that. I wasn't missing all of the parts of the puzzle, just that part. So if it's a thing that you're missing this part, from bitter experience, find somebody in your circle. Surround yourself with people who have the things that you don't have, and make sure that they fill in those gaps for you. So an emotional barometer is really, really important. Another thing that I've found really helps, an awful lot of times when we get the quiet people, the sad people, the angry people, the frustrated people, they're just not getting heard, they're not getting their opinions heard, they get railroaded, or stuff goes past them, or they have an idea and then somebody else, we talked about this earlier on, somebody else says the idea and then they get credit for it. So it's a good idea to get people to write stuff down, either to come to a meeting with stuff prepared, or if you float an idea, to have people write down their ideas. At least then it's captured, it's written down somewhere. So if you suggest your idea and we all get so excited about it and we go flying, we won't forget my idea because it's written down on a piece of paper in front of me. And what you can also do is, and this has actually happened to me, where somebody said, why don't we do X? And I can go, yeah, that's exactly what I have written on my piece of paper. So we have had the same idea at the same time. Everybody can see that. I don't feel frustrated that I wasn't heard. You just happened to say it before me, and we all recognize that you're quite extrovert and I'm quite introvert, and you're quite good at this stuff and I'm usually very quiet. But the meeting is now seeing, because 2 or 3 of us are now holding up a piece of paper that says, launch in Cambodia. So, wow, we're now going for a Cambodia launch, but 4 of us all had the same idea and here we are holding it up. That really helps with managing people's disaffection with how meetings run, people's anger or irritation or frustration with not being heard, with not having their voice heard. And it allows me to fully engage in your idea, because I know we're coming back to mine at some point, because it's written down, it's not going anywhere. It physically exists in the world on a piece of paper, so I know we're going to come back to this. Meanwhile, we'll talk about your idea, and I can just let go of my idea and fully engage in your idea and try and make that the best it can be, and we'll knock 7 shades of breakfast out of that idea while respecting you. And then we're going to come on to my idea and we're going to do the same. So have people write stuff down at the start rather than let it just run away is a really good trick. And an awful lot of this comes down to, and genuinely, when you find yourself in these situations, particularly in VUCA environment and challenging environment, you won't know what to do. You won't know the answer. People will be looking for you for the answer. But what emotionally intelligent leadership comes down to is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do, when you don't have the answer, when it's not clear. But what do you do? How do you work yourself through that? And how do you bring people and yourself through that? Find that gap, find that gate, don't knock down the wall, look for a door. So how do you help people to do that? How do you help people to work through ambiguous situations when actually you don't know? And you're worried and you're concerned and you're frustrated and you've got all this anxiety going on. How do you handle that in yourself, manage that in yourself, communicate the right kind of energy to your team so you create the right energy, the emotional substrate in your team that gets us to the right place, creates the right kind of thinking. But it's not about what I say, it's about what you think. How do you see yourself? And what I'd like you to do, if you've managed to go through all 5, you've got a few notes, you've had a few conversations with people, is find one thing, just one idea that you think will help you, that you think you could change, that you think you could start to implement. Just pick one thing. Don't go learn more about emotional intelligence. Don't go read any articles. Don't Well, buy my book. You don't have to read my book, but buy my book would be great. But don't go learning more about stuff. Find something to implement and start. Start doing things differently. Pick one thing, get good at it. Once you've done that, then maybe pick another thing, but start. It's not about your intention, it's about your behavior. So what we learned from the last part is empathy is so important. It's the secret sauce. Martin Newman, who wrote a book called Emotional Capitalists in this emotional intelligence area, talked about empathy being the secret sauce of leadership, and I think he's absolutely right. And it's a complex behavior. You got to pick up the right emotion. No point empathizing with the wrong emotion because you got the wrong diagnosis. I thought this person was happy. Actually, turns out they were sad. So I empathized with the wrong one. No wonder it didn't work. So make sure you pick the right one. Make sure you know what that really feels like. So you have a visceral sense of the emotion. Have the words to describe to the person. So are you feeling this? Are you feeling that? Is this what's going on for you? So you have the vocab to help, and then you come up with a good strategy. So empathy is actually quite a complex behavior that requires all four abilities to work in unison. Managing your emotions, managing the emotions of other people is absolutely fundamental, critical, foundational skill for any kind of leadership. And it's something that as leaders we all need to master, we all need to get better at, and we need to invest time and energy and resource in getting better at managing our emotions and the emotions of others if we're going to be effective leaders, particularly when times are challenging. And it doesn't have to be difficult. There are very simple things like music that can make a huge difference. So we don't have to over-intellectualize or overthink this. There are simple things that can really help. So whenever I have difficult times, whenever I have a challenging meeting, whenever I have something where I need to be positive, I have a piece of music that I play, and I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to play this piece of music over the last title. Thank you for listening to the 5 sessions in this series. I hope you managed to get something from them, and listen to this piece of music. It always cheers me up, and I hope it'll do the same for you. So thank you.
We're the Joyce Country Caravan, playing away and we're doing grand. Well, if we're singing a song, won't you give us a hand? 'Cause we're the Joyce Country Caravan. Friday night, off we go. Tune the fiddle, strain the bow. Oh, we take it handy for the first few sets. Sure, there's hardly anyone listening yet. And we're the Joyce Country Caravan, playing away and we're doing grand. Well, if we're singing a song, won't you give us a hand? 'Cause we're the Joyce Country Caravan. Thomas and Mary out on the floor. Well, they never lost it, that's for sure. In his sparkling shoes and his dad's white shirt, she has a brand new perm and a pleated skirt. And we're the Joyce Country Caravan, playing away and we're doing grand. Well, if we're singing a song, won't you give us a hand? 'Cause we're the Joyce Country Caravan. Bit of Kelly. We do do's and functions, weddings and wakes.
Boom shakalaka weddings and wakes.
Meats and salads, buns and
Boom
cakes.
shakalaka buns and cakes.
Well, if you need a few tunes, just give us a
Boom
call.
shakalaka give us a call.
For the house, the pub or the parish hall.
Boom shakalaka parish hall.
And we're the Joyce Country Caravan, playing away and we're doing grand. Well, if we're singing a song, won't you give us a hand? 'Cause we're the Joyce Country Caravan. Oh, there's a princess on the floor all night.
Mona, Carnamona.
She can fairly throw them shapes all right.
Mona, Carnamona.
Oh, how are you mad, are you on your own?
Mona, Carnamona.
How are you fixed for a seat back home? 'Cause we're the Joyce Country Caravan.